So I guess we'll try to make this a more official type of podcast, if that's even real. This is Professor P, Dr. P. So for the last year and a half or so, most of the episodes here, now FRAA Recovery, Families Recovering from Alcoholism and Addiction Recovery podcast, have been speaker tapes. This is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, it's me speaking, but so last night I went to this meeting, and grateful to go to a meeting. I felt compelled to share, so I did. And it was typical, normal. Usually when I share, I don't necessarily always talk about war stories or the hell that I've been through. But I mean, look, my life is wonderful. I'm so happy to be clean, to be recovering, to have all these gifts, to have a family, rich beyond my wildest dreams in that sense. However, I'm still very much human, and I completely believe in the disease concept of addiction. Jelinek, 1960. So it's hard. It's hard. It's always something. The disease is always manifesting itself within my life, within my bones. It's not always about the drugs. It's always about the drugs. But today, drugs are just a symptom. The disease is me. I was told the only thing you have to change is everything. And drugs aren't your problem. It's you. So, with 7 years and some change and all these wonderful gifts that I'm experiencing, it's hard. I mean, the disease is very much right there with me. It's not like I dropped the disease off. I mean, it says in Narcotics Anonymous basic text that the disease, our addiction, it can be arrested. So, I mean, I don't know. It's not like I dropped the disease off at the jail and then, okay, see you later. When I say arrested, or at least for me, how I believe arrested, meaning it's here with me, it's arrested, but it's still very much a part of my life. So anyway, I'm at this meeting, right? And look, for me, whenever I got arrested, man, I got plenty of sleep. I was able to do push-ups. I got plenty of rest. I could read. There's a little television. I mean, hey, it was good to go. It was always comfortable. I mean, yeah, the bed was hard, and of course being with other people was rough, and sharing a toilet and shower was not fun, and you weren't free. You had to stay in a confined space. But I mean, shoot, I was able to live, and if I played my cards correctly, not just spades on a Sunday night, but if I played my cards correctly, being arrested, you can thrive. You can definitely thrive. So anyway, back to why I wanted to do this episode, or why I felt compelled to share. So last night, got to go to this meeting, so grateful. And at some point during my share, I said the following. I said, my disease, technically, I believe that my disease is allowing me to recover. Now, immediately, as soon as I said that, I was like, uh-oh, I didn't mean to say that. However, I have to remember that I'm in a meeting. We've already prayed to God. We've already done the serenity prayer. Everyone that's there, it doesn't matter if you're court ordered, or it doesn't even matter your motive there. There's something deep inside. There is a light, there is a spark, there is a flame that wants to get better, whether we are aware of that or not, and whether that flame is going to last until we die. A lot of us won't die clean. Anyway, I made this comment in my share about how the disease, my disease at least, has allowed me to recover. And of course, I kind of got all up in my head, and maybe there was some people in the room, and they were probably thinking about their own selves too, right? So like, there I am being self-centered, that people were probably like, oh, what is he thinking? The disease? Your disease is allowing you to recover? Where's your higher power connection? Right? Because, I mean, and you go in there, you're grateful. And what has allowed me to recover? Well, this the program, this connection with a higher power, my family, a loving, caring God, the steps, all these amazing gifts. Hold up. That's wonderful that all those things have allowed me to recover. My higher power, and of course, the God of my understanding, and the wonderful rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. That's wonderful. What about all those that don't make it, that don't even make it to the rooms, that never even get a chance? Was that their higher power? That their God of their understanding? Right? So think, well, no, that's if I were to choose to not utilize these tools, if I were to make a choice to not utilize these tools, these gifts, and pick up and use, what is that? My higher power? Is that what my higher power wanted? Is that what my now we can be real quick to say, well, the disease. That was the disease. You were caught up in your disease, right? The disease of addiction, not finding the rooms. The disease, it didn't get us there. It didn't get you to the rooms to get clean. 98% of us will never see 5 years of continuous clean and sobriety time. And I don't blame that on higher powers. I don't blame that on God. I don't blame that, some people want to blame the individual. We've never seen a person who lives the narcotics program relapse, right? It says that in Recovery and Relapse. I wish we would read that in the beginning of our readings more often. There is a meeting that I get to attend on Wednesdays, Misery is Optional, which we read that to the newcomer. We let them know that we've never seen anyone who lives a Narcotics Anonymous program relapse. Why would we keep that out of the... Anyway, see, I'm being real. But back to this. So it's like, I said that I believed that my disease has allowed me to recover. And then instantly I felt a certain way that maybe people were like, I ain't like him. Shit, F my disease. My disease hadn't allowed me to do nothing, blah, blah, blah. Well, the disease has allowed a lot of us to not make it to the rooms. The disease has allowed a lot of us to go back out and use, pick up and die. The disease has done a lot of things. What I'm learning today about me is this disease is completely, wholly, WHOLY, whole, a part of me. Completely. It is part of my identity. I'm okay with that because, as my boy Kenny shared, who was right beside me, I have tools today. I have these gifts. I have so many opportunities to continue to reflect and look at myself and hopefully make a change. We have never seen anyone who lives a Narcotics Anonymous program relapse. I've heard stories. Of people that were right in the middle. They're doing everything that they were told to do. They're going to meetings, they're working steps, and they're on their way to a meeting, and then they go and get high. Luckily, some of those people came back. Relapse doesn't have to be a part of your recovery. That's true. It doesn't. Now, for many people that have a progressive, chronic, if left untreated, fatal disease, as the disease concept of addiction, let's talk about heart condition, heart failure, anything like that, even obesity at some point, but diabetes. If we don't treat, if I don't treat that progressive chronic disorder, I will likely to relapse. It's a phenomena. And people that have cancer, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, cancer and addiction. No, it's not. I wouldn't want to wish either on anybody. I mean, cancer is like you get hit by a lightning bolt. Now, with the disease of addiction, you had a choice. You should have stopped using. You shouldn't have been using drugs. Well, that lightning bolt burned down the entire home and all the family members involved. So, we can sit here and weigh this and weigh that, but people that have cancer will relapse, right? It relapses. There's relapse. So relapse is part of some people's journey, not everybody's. Is that the higher power? Is that the God of my understanding? Or is that the tools? So I do have to believe that, we have never seen anyone that works the Narcotics Anonymous program relapse. I do have to believe that. However, I do think that, my disease has allowed me to recover. It has. My higher power has initiated that. Hopefully, I guess. I have to give a little bit of that to the disease itself and what I'm becoming and how it has intermingled its way in my connection with my higher power. It's not like I come in and get clean and recover, and then it's like, oh, I have this wonderful connection with my higher power. Oh, and it is a wonderful connection. It's beyond any connection I can fathom. But I still have the disease. I still have this disease. So there is I'm not saying an asterisk there, but I need to remember to include this disease, include the disease, not necessarily be grateful for it. Yeah, I am. Sure. Well, I'm clean and in recovery today and, experiencing all these wonderful gifts. Well, my family is experiencing wonderful, wonderful gifts, breaking the cycle truly, if you have heard my story. But I don't want to just forget about the disease of addiction. Forget about it. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess after reflection, I needed to tell myself that maybe that's what I was supposed to say. I was supposed to share that. I was supposed to share that, the disease of addiction has also too allowed me to recover because I didn't die. Well, maybe I did, in a past life and the steps allow me to believe that. Step 11, in a greater connection. And then maybe in that past life, I was able to inspire my loved ones to recover. Those overdoses I had in front of my family. I think about the loved ones, that I've lost, specifically childhood friends, Shiloh and Danny. Maybe in another life, they wake up from that overdose in another realm. Maybe kind of like how I did in this realm here. And they're inspiring so many other life experiences in another realm. That can be practical, especially when we're living in a world with, there might be that comet and, is that comet alien? What do you mean alien? Well, it's unnatural. What do you mean unnatural? Who puts these conditions? We do. Human beings, we put conditions of what is natural and what's unnatural. It's unnatural. It's foreign. It's foreign to us. So, limitless, endless, impossible possibilities. Jimmy K said that there was a group back in the early 80s. Limitless. Anyway, I wanted to share that. It's like, does my disease get a thank you for where I am in recovery? And I have to believe yes. I have to believe yes. And maybe that's me learning to love, the me, the disease part of who I am. Families recovering from alcoholism and addiction. So here we are. This is the FRAA Recovery Podcast. And I started this as a doctoral student, and beyond, courage and perseverance, all these amazing spiritual principles that I don't even realize I practice until afterwards. And a lot of it is just showing up, continuing to put recovery first. We have never seen anybody who lives the Narcotics Anonymous program relapse. I'm a doctor today, and so I've been feeling compelled, or was compelled to push forward with this nonprofit, this initiative, this research-based initiative, Families Recovering from Alcoholism and Addiction. It started first, it was, I was like, hey, Sarah, Sarah Yager, which she had been on she was like technically the first podcast, even though I scheduled her third. She was like my first interview. Her and I was like, hey, look, I'm going to need some help with stuff. And then Dr. Monica Henry, shout out to the Momo, who's taken on this role of president of Families Recovering from Alcoholism and Addiction. So we're an initiative, right? So if you go to FRAArecovery.org, you'll start to see this blueprint, this foundation of what we would like to become. And then eventually, sooner than later, we'll have Dr. Jessica Hensley, though she is a a student now, doctoral student. She's really come on board and added fuel to the flame. And that's important too, I think, to have someone with multiple decades of recovery. It's wonderful balance. And then shout out to William Dumas, who, it's not his job to babysit me, but it's important, right? It's important to have someone that is extremely brilliant, very smart, like Bill is, and on board. And those are that's the executive board. And we had this opportunity to present some of the data in Atlantic City, which was really awesome. We also were able, during that same week, I sent a video of some of the data to the 4th International Conference on Addiction and Psychiatry in Venice. That was in Austria. And both of these events, the Atlantic City National Association Case Managers and then this 4th International Conference on Addiction and Psychiatry, occurred September 24th, 25th, 26th. Next year, we've already been invited back to do workshops in Atlantic City. And then also, too, invited as a organizing committee board member for the 5th International Conference on Addiction and Psychiatry. And that'll stay on the same river in Budapest. So Venice and then right up the street to Budapest. Now, I probably won't be going there. So a lot of that work will be done via technology, the Zoom and things like that. So Sarah was able to get us in with Faith Recovery, shout out in Williamsburg, and we were able to do this run for recovery. And Sarah ran and finished. And Dr. Monica Henry, she drove on down with Fudgy. Woo, woo. Fudgy's a great guy. Wonderful, wonderful, good dog. He's a good boy. He listens and he's just wonderful. And she was there with us and she brought this beautiful sign and Jess was there and, Bill was working, but, we were able to just kind of be a presence in the community of Suffolk, which is cool, right? And it was really last minute and grateful that, those women were there. Cause I don't even know how to live, really. We've never seen anybody who lives the Narcotics Anonymous program relapse. All right, cool. I can focus on that. We have upcoming events. Grateful for Dr. Thomas J. Soha. Look his CV up, right? He's a Fulbright professor at Old Dominion University and definitely my mentor for sure. We get to present at the 96th Annual Southern States Communication Association Convention. That's in Birmingham, Alabama, April 8th through the 12th next year. That's pretty cool. That'll be more formal, right? So it's like 96th annual. And then if you go back, we have our coming up that 5th international, not as formal, probably, so when I say formal, this is going to be like a paper conference. Yeah. And those are some things that are occurring. And then next year again, September, around the end of September, both Atlantic City again, and then Budapest, and who knows. And so currently too, just to keep everybody updated, you can go to FRAA, FRAA recovery.org. Check it out. We need donations. We do. So please help us donate. All of the money that's donated will go towards research-based initiatives and getting us ready to hopefully begin really getting out into the community. Wouldn't it be great to have a research center? And we need your help, please. So check it out. The podcast is on there. There's also FRAA Stories. So if you want to go ahead and share and write a blog about your experience with addiction recovery as an affected family member, as someone in recovery, please, you can email us at hope@fraarecovery.org. And lastly, here's what's really going on. So in the process of, and I think Jess is going to help out a lot too. I know she's coming up on her first semester with doctoral studies. So it's like easy does it, but we're starting this and I can't expect Monica to do everything either. And she'll help too, but it's like we got this, it's a study, it's a quantitative study, very similar to the dissertation, except there's no qualitative questions. So it'll be a lot faster for participants and people like that, people like fast. It'll be the family communication patterns instrument. So, hey, we want to know, how does your family communicate? What family typology do you have? And then also a self-efficacy scale. And then, once some of those numbers come back, once it's approved and it's official and the survey's out there, we'll start crunching some data, and hopefully that will give a nice push to some conferences that are coming up. We can add on some information. Oh, hey, by the way, also those participants that complete the upcoming survey, they'll be asked if they want to be interviewed. And so there'll be qualitative interviews. So that'll be its own separate study. So in the process of 2 studies, I believe that that'll be finished by June of 2026. I do have faith in that. And I think that too, with donations, we started this push, How to Save a Life campaign, which is awesome. And that was Sarah's idea because, FRAA is very similar to FRAA. It sounds that way. How to Save a Life, dude. And so we started pushing that the first week of October, and there's $0. That's okay. Like, people are probably like, what is this? Why are we going to donate to this? I think too, also, after Thanksgiving into the Christmas season, people may be more heavy-hearted and plus, I think that's just where we are right now as coming in. We're just about to get approved as a 501c, hopefully. We got our EIN number, all those things, and we can start applying for grants. But so I do believe the donations will come in. I do believe we'll get some grants, at least a grant next year. And man, wouldn't it be awesome to have a center, a space? Man, look, Old Dominion University has space everywhere. So I don't even want to hear from that. But it will be so wonderful to have a space where we can really research, alcoholism, addiction, how communication support groups, how family members that are affected by their loved ones and also loved ones, how can we get better? How can we find ways to help our case managers? I know Jess has already started to implement some of the FRAA. We want to put this family communication patterns, which comes from Kohner and Fitzpatrick, revised family communication patterns, which actually came from Ritchie. We were trying to find out how families are communicating, those that are within the hell of addiction. And what does that look like? And can we use it to our benefit? Case managers, people that are in the field, how can we, okay, you're from a protective family, y'all are shut down. Well, what can we do to adapt your recovery plan? What can we do to, because communication is a key part of recovery. Group togetherness. Now, I'm not even talking about Narcotics Anonymous. We have never seen someone who works in Narcotics Anonymous program relapse. I'm just talking in general. Open, honest sharing is so important for recovery. And in many cases, yes, putting down the drug or putting down the enabling, learning how to love differently, learning how to set up boundaries. Yes, those things are important, but sometimes we have to communicate first. We got to be honest and get out of that denial and look at what's going on in our lives. And so Jess has begun to put and implement this, it's a FRAA measure. It's the FRAA scale. Thanks, Tom Soha, the genius, Papa Tom. And so now she's able to understand her clients, her people much better. And she doesn't just look at them as clients. I mean, I know she loves, and it is about love. It's a lot of love. Continuing to love, continuing to not give up. And this isn't just about the addict or alcoholic. This is about the family member who's affected, because this disease, it's all of us. Everyone's affected, right? So anyway, look, I love you all. I'm a go. I've heard myself talk a lot, but I love you. And that's all I got today. Please give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. If you haven't gone to FRAArecovery.org, please check it out. Just check it out. Hit it up. You can find us on Facebook, Families Recovering from Alcoholism and Addiction. You can find us on Instagram. Like us. I think we got like Tasha's on the board. She works at Avenues. Thank you, Lady Rice. she boosted, we have almost 400 Facebook members now in our group. So within like a few days, her connections and that is recovery. Like, what's the opposite of isolation? Connectivity, right? And so, Natasha's connections and she is so vigilant and continues to just push her alumni and her people that she's seen come and recover. And that's kind of how we do it, this communication. But how can we understand more about how we communicate? The families that we come from, it's very, very important. Trust this research. I do. I believe in it. And yeah, either way, I love you all so much. Families Recovering from Alcoholism, the FRAA Recovery Podcast. I'm out. How to save a life. Do, do, do.